And with the contrast, you notice that the Second Amendment patriots are gathering every weekend now. And I saw a video of one, I think it was in Minnesota, I'll link to it. And there were a good amount of people, and there were some speakers that were running for office. And there were some others like that, some in capitals and some just pretty much wherever, people like-minded gathering. And some were more professional or more organized where the people that are running for office spoke, and others were just kind of like groups where you just gathered together, and people are realizing they're using the right to assemble, just like what the left does all the time. And so the leftists seem to have fewer of these protests. Maybe they just burned out from it. They don't know what to do. They weren't all that effective. But now the right's pretty much doing the same thing, even though the news doesn't pick up on it. And if it does, very little. And it certainly doesn't pick up on them that they're going on every weekend. Like on the 5th, in a couple weeks, there's a canned food and open carry, which they're raising the food for charity and getting together, specializing in open carry. And since that's a bigger event, some places are going to have buses to bring people in again. And they do that when there's those kind of larger ones. And in other places, people just gather on their own, real different, but always out. So it's nice that across the whole country, there's these patriot groups out with their rifles and all these different ones that you see. And that's real neat. And people still do that. They're willing to do that. They feel it's a right they had to exercise. They don't want to lose it. Because the left obviously says that what they'd really like to do is repeal the second. And I'm sure they would. And that's pretty much what they're running on. And so that's why people have to watch closely, because these voter machines, you can't really trust them. And that's why it's a good idea to get and enforce voter ID laws and to have poll watchers to watch all this stuff closely to cut down the fraud as much as possible. Because if it weren't for fraud, they'd really have no votes. They're not running on anything but taking more rights away. And less people want that than what they want to make you believe. That's why they always cover up all these kind of gatherings that the right has, and why they have to do that, why they have to have those CIA-run machines. And the CIA, just like any group, it's not all bad, but that's what Bush Sr. was in the CIA, and he was in Dallas during JFK's assassination, and he had to get an alibi from them to say he was somewhere else. And it's that family obviously wasn't good, and there's a lot of people like that in the CIA. So obviously that them and these machines, they're not colluding with Trump by any means. And it's silly if anybody actually believes that, anyone other than people voting to make the country better would be trying to help Trump. No one else is trying to at all. And despite it, he gets a lot done. And it's amazing. It's been, going to be almost 2 years. It's been a year and a half. It's gone by so fast. And I mean, it's like a whole roller coaster every day. And you don't want it to go by that fast. You want it to keep going, because you see the effects of it. And you see the changes, you see stuff getting better, and it's just moving right along. And to have that kind of leader, and we see him with the other world leaders, he's tall and built and strong, has this like definite stern stature, he means business. He's definitely always the alpha in the room, and he makes America's citizens feel safe. It's like he's protects this whole country. Like one time he says, "I'm here to protect," and you just know that he can, and that you can relax, and that he's one of those leaders that you read about, those leaders they have in the old days that just in addition to having the leadership skills and to being so definite and to having that personality, just to have that kind of build with it too, where you just know that he's so strong like that. Like like the first impression kind of thing. You don't have like a weak leader. You see that right away. It's like people from the other countries like that too, especially in contrast with a lot of those ones. You see leaders like Trudeau or Merkel, like in addition to how they are, it just doesn't help that they just look weak in comparison. And to have something that's strong and forceful, and to see him come out and speak, and I mean that's what a lot of people want, definitely, and that's what a lot of people definitely vote for, and that's what fraud-free elections will get you. And these midterms they're watching almost as much as this presidency election, but I would say like in a way more. I mean that people from both sides, they're still on board, they're just watching. And so most people normally they don't really know about or even get out much for the midterms, but this coming up year, in a few months, about a half year, I'm sure that they will. And you want to keep this going, and you want to have less people feel any kind of shame in wanting that. And as I was saying before about the immigration, you want them to know that it's okay to love their country. It's okay to not want to just let people in. It's okay to be here. You don't feel any guilt, don't feel any shame, and don't feel timid. It's okay to be patriotic. It's okay to have pride. And I mean, the more people get that way, the more they do that, the better it'll be for everybody else here too.